Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the regularly scheduled meeting of the Board of Public Works for today, Friday, October 12th, 2018.
Commissioner Repenning, James Davis, and Jacinto are present. President James, we do have a quorum. May we start with Bureau introductions, please, starting with Bureau of Street Services.
Tim Tyson, Bureau of Street Services.
Good morning, Khalil Garis, Bureau of Sanitation.
Good morning, Asad Al-Najjar, Bureau of Street Lighting.
Good morning, Steve Chen, Bureau of Engineering.
Good morning, John Ollinger, Bureau of Contract Administration.
Good morning, Ted Jordan, Public Works General Counsel.
Fernando Campos, Executive Officer. President James, we do not have any speaker cards under general public comment. We have no commentary under the Neighborhood Council comment section, and we also did not receive any speaker cards on any of the items for today's agenda.
Okay, thank you. We'll close general public comment as well as the Neighborhood Council category of commentary. Agenda item number 6, Authority for Expenditure, Department of Industrial Relations, California Occupational Safety and Health Administration, Cal OSHA, the Bureau of Engineering, and the Office of Accounting are requesting board approval and an execution of an authority for expenditure in the amount of $34,300 for penalty fees to Cal OSHA as a result of a citation inspection of Operation Healthy Streets. Mr. Mullen.
Good morning, Mr. President, Board Commissioners, Executive Officer, and Bureau Reps. Very quickly, Cal OSHA showed up on an employee complaint regarding Healthy Streets, and they gave us a document request. We sent in information, the information that was available. Cal OSHA replied saying that there's the possibility that we would be considered in violation of willful serious citations for exposure control plan, environmental and engineering controls, personal protective equipment, and the required hepatitis B vaccinations. That would represent up to $496,000 in fines. So we took a proactive corrective action approach, and we went through all the programs, and we developed exposure control plan for bloodborne pathogens, and we trained Operation Healthy Streets and the Clean Streets on the solid side. We also met with Cal OSHA on an informal conference, and our good faith effort and clarifications were able to bring it down to $84,000, and then further work brought it down to $45,000, and then when we met on appeal with the administrative judge, we got it down to $34,000. And then all of the actions that we took are now statutory and policy based through the entire Bureau of Sanitation.
Okay, thank you for the work on that and riding the ship there. Any questions? Is there a motion on number 6 by Commissioner Repenning? Seconded. I'll second agenda item number 6 along with Commissioner Davis. Any objection? Without objection, we will adopt agenda item number 6. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Any issue sending number 6 forthwith? We'll send number 6 forthwith. There's been a request by the Bureau of Engineering to withdraw agenda item number 2, which was an AGF in Council District 9. So without objection, number 2 will be withdrawn. Agenda item number 1, also Bureau of Engineering in Council District 9. Budget increase, revised construction order and change orders, super expedited wastewater emergency rehabilitation for sewers program. This is Sewer 6, Vernon Avenue, 900 project. Recommending that the board authorize $25,000 in additional contingency and approve a revised construction budget of $125,000 for the project. And secondly, authorize the city engineer to issue a revised construction order and change orders to Matthew and Stewart Company Incorporated for a total cost of a not to exceed amount of $125,000 for the project to compensate the contractor for extra work that is discussed in the report. Mr. Garawi on number 1.
Good morning. My name is Salim Garawi with the Bureau of Engineering, Wastewater Conveyance Construction Division. Once again, the staff recommendations are authorize $25,000 in additional contingency and approve a project budget of $125,000 to authorize the city engineer to issue a revised construction order to Matthew and Stewart Company Incorporated for a not to exceed amount of $125,000 to complete the work under this project. Generally, in a nutshell, this project is located in South Los Angeles on Vernon Avenue between McKinley Avenue and Wadsworth Avenue. The existing pipe, 8-inch VCP pipe, 10 feet deep, almost 400 feet long, was built in 1908. The reach is full of fractures and cracks because of the tree roots, and the scope of work was to remove and replace the entire pipe. And then the construction order was issued to Matthew and Stewart Company, Incorporated, as the lowest bidder. During construction, however, the contractor encountered adverse soil conditions, type C soil, and which negatively impacted the construction activities and added more cost to the project. A revised construction order was issued to the contractor to mitigate the negative impact of the adverse soil condition, which brought the budget to almost $93,000. This project also is subject to a Transportation Committee for Traffic Control, for Traffic Management Control, which required a traffic control plan to be submitted and approved by LADOT, and also required additional fees to be paid. So the additional approval and fees will cause the project budget to exceed $100,000. And since the project is under construction, we're also asking for an additional contingency, and therefore we're requesting $25,000 in additional contingency and approve a project budget of $125,000. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Garawi. Commissioner Jacinto?
Thank you, President James. Salam, thank you for this. So the additional $25,000 in contingency, we may not draw down on that entire amount, correct? You said that the construction budget's increased to almost $95,000.
$93,000. That is correct. The current budget, the current estimate of work is about $105,000, but we're asking for, again, additional contingency because the construction is still going on.
Very good. And then we don't usually anticipate for type C soil, loose soil, so therefore that has to be something that the contractor tells us, informs us, and we have to spend more for that shoring and excavation, correct?
That is true. During design, we make an effort to determine the type of soil, but we are not always successful because we do not have enough record on that subject site, and we end up encountering it in the field.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Jacinto. I don't have any questions. Okay. Commissioner Jacinto's made a motion that we adopt agenda item number 1, seconded by Commissioner Davis. Any objection? Without objection, we will adopt agenda item number 1. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Any issue sending number 1 forthwith? We will send number 1 forthwith. Is there a second to my motion that we approve the meeting minutes from the meeting of Wednesday, September 12, 2018 by Commissioner Repenning? Any objection? Without objection, we'll approve those meeting minutes. Agenda item number 3, Council District 15, above-ground facility variance for 1131 West Anaheim Street, recommending that the board first approve the request for a variance from the height requirement of the AGF ordinance pursuant to LA Municipal Code, Section 6208 VB, and secondly, authorize mobility to install a 42-foot high wood monopole in the public right-of-way adjacent to 1131 West Anaheim Street. Ms. Wang.
Good morning, Hui Huang with Bureau Engineering. Before I proceed, I wanted to clarify that utility companies have the right to use the public right-of-way to install utility facilities, and the city has the right to dictate the manner, time, and placement of the facilities. The city currently exercises this right via the AGF ordinance, which specifies aesthetic and public safety design requirements along with a permitting procedure. In this report that you have before you, Mobility is asking for the city to allow for the placement of a monopole that will exceed the height limit prescribed by the AGF ordinance. And they had noted that the monopole is needed to install wireless telecommunication equipment. Mobility, as part of this application, sent first notification letters of the installation to the adjoining, abutting, and across the street properties, and also inform Council District 15 of the installation. As part of the AGF ordinance, for the variance to be considered, applicant needs to fulfill 3 requirements. 1, the applicant needs to provide suitable measures consistent with aesthetic guidelines of the AGF ordinance. In this case, the monopole will be in a manner and design similar to surrounding wood utility poles in height and appearance, and the antenna and other equipment will be painted brown to further blend in with the surrounding utility poles. BOE deems condition number 1 satisfied. The applicant needs to demonstrate also that there is no financial or technical acceptable alternative that will comply with the AGF ordinance requirements. In this case, the height limit prescribed by the AGF ordinance of 5 feet and 6 inches is not sufficient height for the applicant to place antennas for wireless cell site, which needs to be placed at a height much higher than the 5 feet. As such, they feasibly do not have a technical alternative. Aside from that, they did conduct an initial co-location effort where they found no co-location site. This item since it was scheduled from the October 1st meeting, and it was extended from that. During that period, BOE and BSL and the applicant met to conduct a second review of the site to see if there was further opportunities for co-location. We determined that no beneficial co-location opportunity was found. Main issue was that in order for a co-location to take place, we would have to trench across the entire roadway to establish the opportunity. BSL noted that the existing lighting in the area was sufficient and that the additional benefit was minimal for adding additional lighting. Third condition is that the applicant needs to provide an approval from Cultural Affairs Commission for the design, and this was obtained in February 18, 2016. As such, the initial application was deemed complete by Bureau Engineering. We sent a second notification to the adjoining, abutting, and across the street properties to notify them that they had a 14-day appeal period to appeal this determination. 2 properties were notified, out of which no response was received, and Council District 15 did not take a position with respect to this application. Page number 4 of the report will show you the before and after photos of the installation. At this point, Mobility has met all the conditions required for the AGF ordinance and for this variance request, and our recommendation is for the board to approve it as provided.
Okay, thank you. We'll start with Commissioner Jacinto.
Thank you, President James. Hui, thank you for this going back with the Bureau of Street Lighting at our board's request and trying to see and verify the fact is there another co-location opportunity. And given the fact that the other alternative would be, one of the alternatives would be to trench across the streets, I don't think that is as a desirable option to trench and therefore to impact the integrity of the street. So I think that the variance is appropriate given that fact that it's right next to a parking lot, correct?
Correct.
All right. And the fact that we did a second time, the Bureau of Engineering and the Bureau of Street Lighting went and verified a possible co-location. I think we did our due diligence, and I'm ready to move forward with this. So thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Jacinto. Anything further? I don't either. So that's a motion. I'll second it. Any objection? Without objection, we'll adopt agenda item number 3. Any issue sending number 3 forthwith?
Thank you.
We'll send number 3 forthwith. Thank you. Agenda item number 4, contract amendment, Office of Community Beautification. Tree planting services for fiscal year 18-19. Recommending that the board authorize the Office of Community Beautification to execute an amendment to the contract with the Los Angeles Conservation Corps in the amount of $1,112,000 to fund citywide tree planting activities. That would be Mr. Roch. There you are. You were sitting over there a minute ago.
Good morning. Paul Roch, Director of the Office of Community Beautification. The City Plants program is responsible for several programs involved with beautifying the city of Los Angeles, focused around tree planting, tree maintenance, and tree distribution events. Much of the work out in the field is performed by the Los Angeles Conservation Corps and other subcontracting nonprofit community-based organizations as part of a contract administered by the Office of Community Beautification. This morning, we're here requesting board approval to amend the existing contract with LA Conservation Corps for additional tree projects funded by the Los Angeles Department of Water and Power in the amount of $1,112,500. The Board of Public Works and Department of Water and Power have an ongoing MOU whereby DWP provides funding for tree plantings to increase the shade canopy across the city of Los Angeles, overseen and coordinated by the City Plants program. For the past fiscal year, 2017-18, approximately 23,377 trees were planted throughout the city of Los Angeles as part of the DWP-funded programs. And in order to continue these efforts for the current year, we are respectfully requesting approval this morning from the Board of Public Works. And I'm available for any questions, as well as Rachel O'Leary of the City Plants program. So once again, thank you.
Thank you. Any questions on this one? I don't think so, Paul. We support it. Go forward and keep it up. Rachel, thank you. I'll make a motion that we adopt agenda item number 4, seconded by Commissioners Jacinto, Davis, and Repenning. That'll be that.
Thank you.
All right. Any issue sending it forthwith? We'll send number 4 forthwith. Agenda item number 5, request for qualifications, pre-qualified on-call bridge civil engineering design and support services consultants list. Recommending that the board authorize the city engineer to issue and advertise the transmitted request for qualifications for bridge and civil engineering design and support services consultants. Secondly, authorize the staff from the Bureau of Engineering on behalf of the Department of Public Works to evaluate and pre-qualify the respondents based upon the requirements and procedures set forth in the RFQ. Third, authorize the city engineer to negotiate a personal services contract with each of the highest rated and most responsive consultant firms. And fourth, direct the city engineer to report to the board with recommendations on executing the negotiated contracts. Ms. Lau, hello.
Hello. Good morning. Shirley Lau with the Bureau of Engineering Bridge Improvement Division. The Bureau currently manages a pre-qualified on-call consultants list for bridge and civil engineering design and support services. It was established in 2014 specifically for federally funded transportation projects that was granted to the city of Los Angeles. There are currently 10 firms on the list. The contract ceiling is $10 million per firm, and the contracts will expire in October of 2019. Due to the federal regulations, on-call contracts cannot be extended beyond 5 years, and therefore the Bureau will need to establish a new list of pre-qualified consultants to replace the ones set to expire next year. So projects that the Bureau anticipates will require the use of the consultants for this list are a bridge retrofit, bridge widening and replacement projects, various federally funded street improvement projects such as for the active transportation program, also other surface transportation program federally funded projects. In addition, we also anticipate that SB1 projects can use this list as well. In general, proposed scope for these consultants would be project management, design, preparation of plans, specification, estimates, basically other disciplines such as environmental engineering, right-of-way engineering, and construction engineering services. Once we receive the statement of qualifications from the respondents, the Bureau of Engineering will be the lead to evaluate these firms. We also base the criteria on what is recommended by Caltrans. And once we have a selected list of firms, the firms must submit documentation for a pre-award audit that is submitted to Caltrans for their review and approval. Once the city receives a Caltrans approval, then we can negotiate, award, and execute the contracts for the selected firms. Projects that are released under this RFQ will be federally funded and so subject to the U.S. Department of Transportation's Disadvantaged Business Enterprise, the DBE program. Respondents will be required to meet the DBE goal of 8% or submit DBE good faith effort documentation. This goal was calculated by the city in accordance to the federal guidelines, but was approved by Caltrans before we set the goal. The Bureau requests that the board approve the recommendations set forth in this report. We'd like to start the process to establish this new list. especially given the additional steps to collaborate with Caltrans and receive Caltrans approval prior to execution of these contracts. So this concludes my report. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Shirley. Anything? Commissioner Cinto?
Thank you. Shirley, this is great. This list, for the 5 years, we're almost at 4 that we've been in. What's the highlight of using this on-call contract in one of our current contracts? Just give us kind of that picture of how we've used this to the city's advantage in a great bridge project.
Right, so all of our bridge projects use this contract, the current contract. 6th Street Viaduct also uses it for construction management services. And so we have, last time, 4 years ago, when we did the qualifications, we have very good firms that are currently on this list, and so we've utilized them. I would say 2/3 of the firms we've used heavily on bridge projects. They also specialize in a lot of bridge projects. So in addition to the bridge program, the street program, Steve Chen's street program also uses this list for the active transportation program projects. Those are fast-paced. They have really strict timelines and milestones to meet for the grants. And so this list really helps us with facilitating services to meet those milestones.
Excellent. Thanks for that recap, Shirley. And I just want to clarify, did we go from 6 to 8 on the DBE?
That's correct. The previous goal was 6%. This time it's 8%.
So we're going to get more disadvantaged, more diverse businesses in this next round.
Correct.
And if you say 10, how many firms are we going to shoot for?
I anticipate that it would be similar to the current list, which is 10 firms, and the contract ceiling now is $10 million per
firm. So out of $100 million, we're going to significantly, 2% is significant in terms of increase of diverse small businesses, correct?
Correct.
Excellent. Thanks, Shirley.
Thank you, Commissioner Jacinto. Commissioner Davis?
I just want to compliment the Bureau in us moving towards increasing the diversity on these on-call lists. And it is my hope that this same thing that we've been able to achieve in terms of diversity of inclusion on this on-call list, that we potentially will be able to implement the same level of progress on the rest of the on-call list as well. So thank you so very much for what you've achieved on that.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you, Commissioner Penning.
Shirley, you said that Caltrans is going to have to sign off on this list?
Correct. They actually sign off on documentation that the firms that we select, that the documentation the firms provide to Caltrans. It includes a lot of overhead audited rates and proof of third-party auditing their rates and essentially accounting issues. And that's what they sign off on.
Okay. All righty. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything further? Commissioner Jacinto's made a motion that we adopt agenda item number 5, seconded by Commissioner Davis. Any objection? Without objection, we'll adopt agenda item number 5. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any issue sending number 5 forthwith? We will send number 5 forthwith. Any, Dr. Campos, have we cleared the desk already?
Yes, you have.
On a Friday morning. How about that, everybody? Have a nice weekend. Thank you. We are adjourned.